Hello, David.
Hello, Karat.
Tell us, how can we identify opportunities?
Yes, we talked in the last video about risk identification techniques. And of course, opportunities are the same as threats. They're uncertainties that matter, uncertainties that can affect objectives. And so they have probabilities and impacts. They have the same kind of characteristics, opportunities and threats together. The only difference is that opportunities, if they happen, have a positive effect, and threats, if they happen, have a negative effect. So in theory, we could use all the same techniques to identify opportunities. But in practice, what tends to happen, because people have that mindset that really risk is really bad, and opportunities are actually something different. And that's something we need to learn and overcome, that they are the same and both important. But because we have this mindset, then when we're doing things like brainstorming and workshops and checklists and questionnaires, people's minds automatically go to the downside and they forget. So if we're having a workshop to identify the risks and it's an open brainstorm, everybody thinks of just the bad things. Now, we could try very hard just to keep reminding them, don't forget the opportunities. But it would be better if we had some techniques that were specifically focused on opportunities. And we do. There are some techniques that we can use which are particularly focused on opportunities. For example, we can adapt some of the negative techniques, like a fault tree, for example. A fault tree is a way that says, if a fault happened, there's something bad happens, we can think about the drivers of that fault, what would cause the fault to occur. So we build a tree back from the fault to say these things contribute to the fault. And then we could look at the risks which would make the drivers stronger or weaker. So these risks drive these drivers which produce the fault. So starting with the fault, it's like a cause and effect analysis. You go back through the tree to find the risks that lead to the fault.
To the root,
We could do the same for opportunities. So instead of a fault, we could start with a benefit. Imagine we delivered this product early. That would be good. Okay, but how? What are the drivers of delivering early? Well, we've got things like having all the right resources available at the right time. We've got things like making sure that we don't have last-minute mistakes or errors to fix. We have things like, and so on, good decision making. These drive the ability to deliver early. What uncertainties could strengthen those drivers and help us to deliver early? Those would be the opportunities. So like we have a fault tree for negative things, we could build a benefit tree for good things, for positive things, and use the kind of mirror image of a negative focus technique for a positive thing. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is to use techniques which have a double focus. So I mentioned one of the techniques in the last video, SWOT analysis. Of course, T stands for threats, but what does O stand for? Opportunities, exactly. So SWOT analysis should produce both threats and opportunities. It's a double-sided technique. We have force field analysis. There are negative forces which stop us achieving our goals, and those are things which strengthen those are threats. But there are also positive forces which help us to achieve our goals, and those are opportunities. So a force field analysis gives you the balance of forces that could affect your objective or your goal, and that covers both sides. So force field analysis is a double-sided technique. We can analyse assumptions to give us threats. If an assumption that something will turn out well is wrong, we have a problem. So an unsafe assumption is a threat. But we could also analyse constraints. Constraints are things which hold us back, and if constraints could be relaxed or removed, that would be good. And so a constraints analysis could show you where some of these things can be relaxed in order to create an opportunity. So you can double or broaden out assumptions analysis to become assumptions and constraints analysis, and then find threats and opportunities together. So in terms of identifying opportunities, there are some threat-focused techniques that we can adapt, like the fault tree into the benefit tree. There are some specific opportunity techniques that we could use, and there are some double-sided techniques like force field and SWOT analysis, which will find both threats and opportunities together. So I think there are lots of techniques available, but the key thing to change is our thinking. If we think that risk is all bad, then we'll never find opportunities. If we remember that there are good risks, then at least we give ourselves a chance of going to look for them and finding them.
Absolutely, very well said, and something to learn here.
Something to learn.
Something to learn here, and definitely like the whole idea behind the fault tree and the benefit tree.
Well, we can all do better in identifying opportunities, and the techniques are there to help us.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right. Absolutely. Thank you, David.
Thank you.